Welcome back. You just should have completed your weekly literature file for the story Hey Little Ant. As a reminder, this is going to get easier. We're going to do it each week, and you will learn to use the words and the pictures and the connections that you have with a story to very simply begin to know what you can use a book for. The other thing that's going to help you become more proficient at this skill is learning the curriculum needs for students in the age that you want to teach. Once you know the things that they need to learn, it's easy to pick those out in text. So each week after you do your own brainstorm, we will collaborate together, and I will share the things that I thought the best would best be used for. The information at the top is to help you organize your weekly literature file. And the purpose of this file is that at the end of the semester, you will have a packet of at least 10 books and how to use them across the curriculum and themes to file away and use again, hopefully, in your own classroom. So we always compile the title, author, and some classification information at the top. So today our book was Hey Little Ant by Philip and Hannah Hoos. This story was fiction, and I know that's part of our discussion this week of Chapter 2. And this book was very easily characterized as fiction because it's about a talking ant. And obviously that's not something that happens in the real world. A theme that I've used this book for is bugs or insects. Students love this theme. I've used it in kindergarten and first grade, usually in April or May, and there's so much you can do with it. Also, this book leads itself into an empathy or feelings lesson. Now, on our page, we have 6 boxes. Reading takes up 2 and writing takes up 1, and those are shaded gray. And the purpose for that is because those are the actual literacy skills that you would be teaching using this book. The other 3 categories are the way you can use literature across the curriculum. So although you're not teaching literacy skills, you're using literature to teach. And we find through our presentation today that that's really a best practice that's going on in primary classrooms. In the area of reading, this book is great for rhyming. Every second line had a rhyming word, so you can identify those and then pull those words out and use them for games and activities in the classroom after you're finished reading. It also has the an word family in the word ant. You wouldn't want to use this book for short A because the A has its schwa sound in an, and that's not a traditional short A sound. So you want to focus on an or ant word family. Under word identification, the book is full of contractions, and contractions are important for readers to learn how to read and what is their purpose. And also, there are many basic sight words in this book, so you can pull them out. You can put the book text up on an overhead or a smartboard and have them highlight. And one of my favorite sight word activities is to actually combine it with math and create a graph that has 4 to 5 sight words at the bottom. And each time they encounter the sight word in the text, they color in a box. And then you can do some math graphing, questioning at the end of your sight word search. When we move through to comprehension and vocabulary skills, this book is a great book for making personal connections to the characters in the story. Can they think of a time where they felt like the human? Can they think of a time where they felt like the ant in the story? Also, what it's like to try to persuade someone to change their mind. Those are great areas that they can make connections to. You also could make a different kind of connection that's called a text-to-text connection, and I'll show you some books that we can do that with in a little bit. Always we can do predicting skills when we read a new text, and so you can ask them what they think will happen next, and the end is open-ended, so you can also predict the ending that you would choose if you were the author. Our last reading area is fluency, and that's reading smooth and fast like we talk. And this book is great for teaching boys and girls how they should sound when they're reading a question in text, how our voice goes up at the end of the sentence. There's also many exclamation marks in the text, so again, lots of practice reading the sentences with the punctuation in mind. And because this book is divided into 2 parts, you could do a reader's theater and have a group read the human part and a group read the ant part, and that practice is fun for boys and girls and also gives them practice in fluency. Moving on to our last literacy skill, and that's writing. This book is great for point of view. Not every book allows you to put yourself in the character's shoes, and we have two characters that we get to think and feel like in this story. So talking about writing in point of view, and then piggybacking on writing their own story from the point of view of another bug. I've done that before, and the boys and girls have created fabulous stories about being the actual bug, putting themselves in the bug's shoes. The beginning of this book starts with a question, and we teach boys and girls that we want to grab the reader with an effective lead when we write, and so we can teach them one way to do that is to start with a question. And last, they can write a new ending to the story, and they can write that by themselves, or they can write that collaboratively in a group. Also, if they're not ready to be writers, you can write it and be the scribe using the language experience approach, or you could do a shared writing experience where you're writing some and they're writing some. Now, when we step away from literacy skills, we can use ants or this story to work in math time. And how that would look like is you would read the story at the beginning of math time, and then you'd pull out ants that are plastic or made from paper or cardstock, and you can use those as manipulatives for any skill. Some basic skills you might use them for are counting, addition, subtraction, or patterning. And if you do patterning, you might want to pull in some shoes. I know in my school we kept a bin of shoes, but it's always fun to have the boys and girls just take off their shoes and throw them in a pile, and then you could do ant shoe patterns. And also, story problems are great. You can use the characters and the events in the story to create problems that incorporate almost any skill in math, including money, telling time, shapes. You can make it work for yourself. The next thing is the area of social sciences, and we already talked about that being great for feelings and empathy. But again, it might lead to some interesting role play activities for the boys and girls, and that's always a fun way for them to put themselves in other shoes. And in our other category, there is a song at the end of our story, and the song actually has sheet music that goes with it and several verses, so they can sing the song. You can add movement or motions to each verse, and it would be really neat either individually or collaboratively for the boys and girls to write a new verse based on the ending that they chose up in when they did their writing activity. So those are 6 different areas where we can use this book several times in your classroom. Now, if I was using this book, I also want to pull out other books. And I have 4 books that I want to share with you today. And we call a set of books that have similar themes or topics a text set. And so I have a text set that goes along with Hey Little Ant. The first book in my text set is Antics. And Antics is actually an alphabet book, and each word in the alphabet has the word ant in it. I'll just preview a few for you. So we have antique for A. For B we have brilliant. For C we have chant, and so forth. But it's a great vocabulary builder, and also for boys and girls working on those beginning sounds, it's a fun book that ties into that connection of ants. Our next book in the text set is Magic School Bus. Gets ants in their pants, and if you have not seen Magic School Bus, these are informational picture books. So they're fiction stories, and actually they're in the fantasy genre because it's about a flying school bus. But their teacher takes them on these adventure field trips where they learn. And because they are learning real information, they also belong in the nonfiction genre. So this is a great book to integrate some information into in a fun way. A book that's great for math, using our ant theme, is 100 Hungry Ants. And this is a book where ants are off to a picnic, and there's 100 of them. There's even a song that goes with it. And they have to keep dividing themselves into equal lines to get there faster. So instead of being in a line of 100, they break down into 2 lines of 50, and then 3 lines of 25, and then 10 lines of 10, and they keep going. And you can see that division and sorting math skills are going into this. If you're using manipulatives or using technology, it's a great book to integrate that even in 1st and 2nd grade. And the last book in our text set for today is probably one of my favorites. It's called An Ant's Day Off. And I like this book paired with Hey Little Ant because it is another book written from an ant's point of view. And in this story, the ant that's resting right there takes a day off. And you get to see the adventure he does. Again, this is another fantasy book because it definitely could not happen. But it's fun for the boys and girls to see what an ant might do on its day off because ants are busy workers. And it has some interesting endings too. So that is a text set, and it's where we piggyback additional books to a theme or a topic. And it's a great way to connect learning across your day if you don't want to repeat the same book throughout the curriculum. Just like we use here, you could use your text set for the day that you talked about ants, or even for a week. So that is our weekly literature file activity, and we'll do this again next week.